I was in Crimea on these holidays, and there also was warm and windy, about 16, 18 degrees, and uh, very warm sun, but a lot of wind, and there was some kind of uncertainty what to wear on this weather. We saw the launch of the missile. Very, very romantic. Okay, so let's start our lecture today. I hope you see the presentation. I'm glad to see you, the heroes in this lecture that went here in the morning. By the way, I had a question. I will ask it in the Telegram chat whether not much of you goes to the lectures because they are not interesting, maybe they're boring or so on. If it is so, please tell me. I will change something, or you can advise me what to change to make them more interesting or more funny and so on. Maybe that's the reason why we don't have much people today and previous day too. Or it's only good weather and you want to walk along the streets, and that's the reason why we don't have so much people here. So if you have some kind of feedback of the contents of the lectures, or maybe my style or the way I deliver them, so you are free to write, PM me, or write in the chat or here. It will be very cool for me because I have a lack of feedback. It's some kind of one-way street when I translate to you information and on the lections, and don't have enough feedback from you, whether they're interesting or not, whether the topics are interesting to you or not, whether they're actual to you or not, or so on. So it will be very cool if you give me some feedback about the lections, so I can improve them, and also the seminars. So we have practice walk, and I personally think that it is very, very useful for you, and will be very useful on every job you will go, from a consultant to manager to top manager and so on. But if you have some feedback, you are free to, and I'm free to accept this feedback. Any even negative feedback, even very negative, even rude, it will be okay. It is better than have a lack of feedback. So it will be cool that you write down. You can even write it down it in Russian. So I see the message from Daria. It's not so cold, not so hot. It's comfortable temperature. Okay, that's cool when in St. Petersburg it's comfortable temperature. That's great. Yeah. In St. Petersburg, a couple of years ago, or 3 years, it was May and it was very hot, 30 degrees. And I thought, oh, St. Petersburg is so hot city. that was my emotions. That were my emotions about St. Petersburg. So let's start our lecture. So by the way, we have two parts of the lecture. They are all about the flawless consulting, about how you can, not should, but can work as a consultant. And there is some kind of information like a professional codex, like a high standard of the consultant. So it's not so how's the word? Obligent. It's not a must for you uh, to be in this codex and be in the standard. It's not a must, and maybe in some companies they don't work so. But it's like some kind of codex of values, of high standards of values of the consultant, of the professional. Like somehow like the Hippocrates works from the doctors and so on. So we stay at these standards, at this codex, and we can be like that. We can do it like a consultant. So that is, I think, personally very interesting information for us. How level of consultant could we be, like a profession from the capital letter P, professional. Not only a man or a woman who only do his or her job, not like a profession. So it's flawless consulting. So you see the name flawless, without flaw, without a mistake, without some kind of low quality. Yes, the high quality flawless consulting, like flawless victory in Mortal Kombat. So this movie or played the game. So we have two parts in this lection, and one is about the tips to the consultant, some kinds of life hacks, and the second part is about the consultant cycle and concrete steps on every part of the concrete bullets on every step of the cycle. So we have these two parts, and from what do you want to start? From tips, life hacks, or from the consultant's cycle of the consulting project? So if tips, please write down tips. If the cycle, the algorithm, the stairs of the consulting project. So please put down these words like cycle, stairs, and we will start. And for me, all two parts, both are important. We can start from the first or from the second. You can also say it by voice. Okay, Grigori, let's start with it. So let's start from them. Thank you for your answer. On the previous lecture, we've started the topic of flawless consulting, and we said we talked about the goals of consultancy. So there are 4 goals: to establish a collaborative relationship, solve problems, so they stay solved, and to ensure attention given to both the technical and business problems and the relationship, and developing client commitment during the consulting process. And we have roles: the client, the consultant, the stakeholder or stakeholders, and change target audience. And we have this situation go for a consultant. So we have a definition also. So a consultant is a person who is trying to have some influence over a group of organization, but has no direct power to make changes or implement programs. So that's the definition by Peter Block on his Flawless Consultancy book. And that's the challenge, that you do not have direct power, like, for example, a manager in the company, the CEO. They have direct power, so they can, for example, fire an employee, or they can reduce salary or have some other influence. And you, like a consultant, do not have this power, and you're trying to have some influence. So that's a challenge. So we have some tips. So this is the phases, and now, like you've chosen, we will go to the tips. So we have several of them. I remember for you, I give your attention that that's our tips for flawless consulting. So that is the methodology, a concrete methodology, and that's all the tips from it. So first tip is being rational is good. Focusing on interpersonal dynamics and emotions is even better. And many believe that being rational is the key to making effective decisions. So as we've solved cases, so uh, you need rational logic to solve them. Yes. And when you will deliver the consultant project, the implementation, you will need not only rational, but working with emotions and interpersonal dynamics. So managers often try to suppress their more impulsive or emotional sides and focus on being logical. But really, it isn't always the best approach. Your consultant being cold and rational will only take you so far. Consultation happens on two levels: the technical business level and the interpersonal level. And even amid the most technical, complicated systems, we can't forget that every employee is a human. The bottom line is that a consultant can truly grasp the problem if she or he doesn't understand the emotional and interpersonal dynamics of the situation at hand. Consider a hospital where many different types of doctors and specialists see a single patient. An internist may draw, an internist may draw blood, a nurse administers medicine, and so on. Although database software could streamline and help organize the multi-level process, it would only happen if everyone involved in the process used the software properly. Thus, as a consultant, you have to realize that introducing a new efficiency tool isn't just a question of adequate terminals or software processes. Each doctor or specialist will need to adjust how they work on a personal level too. To ignore this variable, the introduction of new technology is all but useless. So there are a lot of situations when you face with personal level. So by the way, if you already have a project experience and you've had some initiative and try to make it real, turn it into reality, and to realize this initiative, you need the resources of other people. So you saw that need some special skills to involve them, to be rather argumental for them to do what you want. And they had a lot of obstacles, a lot of they say that something is impossible or they don't know how to do it and so on. They had a lot of emotions in this situation. And when you go to a company like consultants, so the company has some stability and some stable situation, some traditions, and so on. And you go like the agent of changing, and you face with the resistance of this atmosphere. So it's the law that every every system will resist the power of changing. That's okay. And you need to work on the personal level. So remember it, and you will have a lot of situations. And maybe now I think I can give you concrete algorithms how to work with it. Yeah, it will be good. So working with resistance. What to do with this. Okay. So the first tip is to remember about it and don't forget to work with it. And for the concrete instruments, I'll add them in the next section. So the second, trust your spider sense. While interpersonal dynamics are important, as a consultant, don't ignore your own feelings. Pay attention to your first response to the situation. It might shed light on a deeper issue as well as effectively highlighting a potential solution. So if you get the sense that management is too hard on employees, it is a sure bet that employees feel this too. Armed with this bit of intuition, a consultant can then discover ways to improve communication between staff and management, ultimately building a better team. To sum up, don't ignore your feelings and instincts. That use them as data to better understand the situation in front of you. And by the way, it is a good practice for the consultants if you are not alone on the project to have an advice from your colleague what he or she feels in this situation, and to talk about his feelings and to compare them. And if you feel both the same, so that's the situation, and you should do something with it. For example, you feel that employees they're in very stable situation and they are some kind of lazy, so they work hard, but they are lazy for changing and for initiative, for some kind of entrepreneurial function of the manager. And you feel this, okay, and as you feel this, the, the high possibility that it is the truth. And that is the force that you will face this. And you should make some decisions in this situation to improve the situation. So not only to implement your instrument. For example, as I've said to you, we had a situation with a company when we implemented entrepreneurial tools. For example, the funnel of initiatives of the inner entrepreneurship in the company. The project initiatives, the initiatives of changing the processes in the company, and the initiatives of changing the corporate culture. So we made a pipeline like a Kanban board in Notion. So we also made it in Trello or some other apps that have a Kanban board, but we made in Notion, so that is very convenient. And we started the process of innovation. At the first glance, the employees were very enthusiastic. So yeah, we will have new projects, we will make them. But when the true work started, we saw that people had a lot of ideas, but they don't have enough force, enough even wish to make them real and to take the responsibility for designing these initiatives. And that is the entrepreneurial function. So, for example, if you read Itzhak Adizes, one of the top consultants, world's top consultants. So he has a theory on the functions of management. And I recommend you to examine this. I will add the slide for you. So that's very convenient instrument to use it in your product. So 1 second, I'll find it in English. Only Russian. Yeah. So not very beautiful picture, but it have the content. As for example, oh my God. So we have 4 dimensions. Add them. So that are 4 functions of a good manager. So good manager should have 4 of them. He or she should be a good producer, integrator, administrator, and entrepreneur. So in the company, employees had a good producer function. So they make results on the processes that are familiar to them. So as in Russia we say, take more and throw it further. So like a hero that make a lot of work. That's a good function. Every manager and every employee needed, but it's not known. And we've worked with entrepreneurial function. And we saw that people want to take it on the board, but they don't ready to take it. They don't have enough will. And that was the problem. And as we go with the Ishikawa tree, for example, or tree of causes, remember. So please do not have initiative. So I'll take it ignore. Let's ignore. Yes. So we see it. Symptom. And there could be several decisions on this situation. So by the way, the question to you, you are like a consultant. You need in a company to have more entrepreneurial initiative. And you were hired as a consultant to approve this initiative in people. So you were hired to implement instruments for this initiative, and you've implemented them, but people do not have enough wish to work with them. So what to do in this situation? What are your thoughts? What a consultant should do in this situation, or could do? So you might have every idea. So that's the case. What to do in this situation? Two words from me. Why it is important? Why it was important for the CEO to raise the entrepreneurial initiative. So all the responsibility was on CEO. So he had top managers, but all the responsibility was on. And he wanted from his top managers to take more initiative and more responsibility for the project and so on. So the responsibility is not about that they should respond on their money. Not responsibility to make new projects and realize them by themselves, and not only go to the CEO and ask what we should do. We want more money, help us, and so on. So, how do you think? What to do in this situation? You can go with a voice or write down. Or you can say that you are not ready to think this morning in the election. That's also okay. I will go further.
So the problem is that employees didn't have an entrepreneurial initiative, right? But they want money, progress, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. And the CEO want company to grow. And he wants from his employees to be the drivers of the growth of the company. He don't want to be the only driver. Growth. He want to from them to give the energy, to give the initiative for growing the company. And that was on the first stage of the company when they made several projects that now gain money for them. And now they are some kind of relaxed. Okay, we have this project, have money, that's okay. And we are managers, we are like the bosses, we have our employees, and that's okay. And CEO hires you as a consultant that he says, okay, I want more initiative from them. I want new projects, help me. And you as a consultant, okay, I have instruments, I have frameworks, pipelines, IT decisions, and you implemented all of this, and people work on them, but with low initiative, low motivation. What to do in this situation? How do you think?
Well, previously, I guess we checked how to solve a problem in a company, but in a way that it goes further into the market. So that's slightly a big problem. But now we should first understand that this problem is the problem within the company. So perhaps there are some processes that are not working quite correct between the employees, managers, and so on. Maybe they are not interested. So the problem is within the company, and we should give some kind of solutions, ways to solve the problem, and some different ones, because if we only suggest one, so these managers could could not change their decision, and so we need some more ways to solve the problem in order to, I don't know, make more interest among the employees, and give the CEO, so our client, some kind of I don't know how it's called in English, some ways to I don't know, I lost the thought, sorry.
So your decision is to offer, so consultants should offer different frameworks or some other frameworks and some other decisions, maybe IT decisions, for managers to work with them. Yeah, I've or yourself having some others. So as I understand you correctly or not?
Well, yeah, I guess we need some frameworks to solve the problem within the company, so in the company, so that's some kind of inner problems.
Yeah, it is the inner problem.
More interested in the job they do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the situation is how to manage it. So that's a very common situation when you go to the company and you tell, so we have a good instrument, we have a good framework, a good IT solution, so that's it, that works. And you've take hands with the CEO, he also said, okay, that's a good decision, so let's implement it. You go to employees and they say, oh no, that's not kind of comfortable for us. It's too hard to work with it. That's not good. Well, we have better decisions. Let's find something else. For example, I prefer this IT decision, and another manager will tell you, and I prefer this decision, and the third will say to you that he prefer the third decision. And you as a consultant may go, I'll help you. Yes, you want another decision. Let's see. Okay, I'll take an advice from you. And that will be a trap for a consultant, because you will change the decisions, change the ways for the employees, and they will say, no, that's not comfortable. Give me another. That's a very common situation. And this some kind of resistance, it's kind of resistance from them, and they even could not be conscious about it, that it is their resistance. They will say, oh no, that's not a comfortable decision, I need other. And in fact, it's their resistance for you. So and it will be trap if you will try some other them. So you can change, but not to come into a situation when you give one more decision, one more, and they say no, and you, what to do? I don't know. Like in a Russian fairy tale when we had Tsarevna Nesmeyana, how to translate it in English? A girl who don't laugh in the Russian fairy tale, and she said, and Ivan, the hero of the fairy tale, tried to make her laugh, and she said, "Oh no, that's not fun, and that also not fun, and that also not funny." So that's the situation. And for the Anastasia, maybe we can attract them into the process, some benefits for situations from these employees. Simulate them. Yes, that's the situation. So you, like a consultant, when you work with employees, you will have two situations. So when we will go for the tree, so this is the symptom, for example. So let's make it like this. Yes, have symptoms, and we have reasons. We have two basic reasons when we work with personnel, with employees. and with every people. The first kind of reason is do not know how. So they don't know how. They need to have some training, or they need some IT solution. They need instruments. So if they do not how, they need instruments. Need instruments. And the second situation is, and the CEO is in this situation. He don't know how to grow the entrepreneurial initiative in his employees. And he went to the consultant and said, I'll give you money. Please help me with the instrument. Consultant said, okay, I'll take your money. I will implement it. And consultant goes to the employee, and he faced that. He said, so there are instruments. You can use them. There is education, training. Please use them. And the second reason why employees could not do, who could not change the situation, is that do not want do, do not want to do. And in this situation, we need motivation or stimulation, as Anastasia said, it's motivation. So they do not know how, they do not want, and you felt that they do not want. So you had some intuition that maybe they do not want. Okay, and that's the point. So what to do in this situation? And in this situation, you should work with motivation. And we have several ways to work with motivation of the employees. What ways could you offer? How to motivate? How could we motivate the employees? Your variance. Or stimulate. And by the way, Grigory, it's very good that you've had your thoughts about the situation, and so that's the process. So we examine several ways, and that's a very common situation. Then consultants do like this. So that's okay. So that's not a wrong answer. It's a good answer. And but this decision is rather risky. So we should work with their motivation. How could we do this? What instruments do you know? How can we work with the motivation? What variants do we have? So there are plenty of variants. What will you offer? And Sophia already said that we could give some benefits for initiatives. That is a variant. So basically, as in Russia we say, we have two ways of motivating. One is stimulating and one is motivating. The first is how it will be in English. Honey cake, honey cake, I hope. And the second is flash. And Anastasia recommend to use honey cake. And there are lots of variants. Honey cake. And financial, not the only. Not the only. So, you have some ideas? Yeah, the whip. Like not the whip. Yeah. Flash sound. Whip. Promotion or dismissal. Yes. So there is a variety of instruments. So as a consultant, what are the most common decisions? First decision, go to the CEO and say, oh, please hit the table with your wrist and tell them that they should be initiative, they should work, or you will be very angry. That's first. And that also sometimes works. So that's one kind of decision. Second decision is to implement some system to motivate them to be more initiative. For example, financial motivation. Or it can be non-financial. For example, the employee that will have more initiatives and more initiatives implemented can have a promotion on their end, can have a just good in big corporations this way. Have a one second. Have a passion or approval by the people. So he can have some medals, some statues that he is the best innovator, for example. That's the other way. The third way, for example, is to plan some trip with a company when they will implement 2 or 3 new projects. And that are all about motivation, or to make some new education on this team, on this topic. And the second way is when you use a knot, and the knot, and we can have some sanctions, or and that's the way we've started to use in this project, is to implement the accounting system. So it's the first accounting of their work, of what they do, of their tasks, their product, and so on. So to make their work more visible to the CEO, what they particularly do and how they deal with the task that he gives to them. How much time do they do they use to realize the decision, and what they do also. And the second step will be the motivational system, some kind of a KPI system for the managers. And in this system, there will be motivation for entrepreneurial initiative. But if now we will offer them money for the initiative, that will not be the good decision, because we will have a lot of initiative and it will not be on a good quality. So we need them to, and they also say, oh, we don't have time for this, and we need to gain money on what we already have. And for them, it's the prior. And the first step is to have more control for them, for how they work, and to make it more visible, and to talk on the meetings what they've done, why they've done that. So to use the administrator function. And to for them to see where they are not effective in their processes. And after implementing the system, it will be obvious for people where they are not effective. It will be obvious for the whole team. So not for me personally as a manager, as I work, and I think I'm very effective. So I'm a great producer, this function, producer. I'm a great producer. I make a lot of work for the company. I should have a lot of money because I'm a great producer. And when we implement this system, when we see what people do, how they do, how many tasks they have, and so on. So it is, we see on this, and we all see the ineffectiveness of the processes and of their work. So producer can make a lot of action and may not be very effective. And we will see it with the administrative function. So the system will help us with it. And we see, okay, in your current work, we see the gaps of efficiency. And after that, we see we can change them. And to change them, we need entrepreneurial initiative. So to change processes, make them better. We see, oh, you do a lot, but you, for example, you work on an, you use very old instruments that are not effective. You can use modern instruments, but the old ones are more comfortable for you, and the new are not comfortable. But to implement you need entrepreneurial initiative. And when you use the new instruments, we can gain more money. So with this instrument, we will show the employees that we should change the situation. So I hope I delivered this thought for you. One of the decisions, how to make it. To make the work of people more more transparent or clear. So that is, it's not the only decision. It's one of the decisions. First step, to make it more clear, And the second step, it will make obvious them that they need to have entrepreneurial initiative to make their work more efficient. There could be other instruments, for example, where you could have some marketing analysis and compare them with other companies. So some kind of benchmarking and tell them, okay, you see, your competitors already do this and you don't do this. They already have a lot of entrepreneurial initiative and make a lot of new products and you don't do it. That's the other way, for example. Or we can show the market trends and see that the trend of initiative is very high, and the companies that do not have this initiative, that use old one decisions, they go off the market. That's the other reason, decision. There are plenty of them, so I'm glad that in this case we've shaked our brain and had some ideas on this point. So the key point of this tip is trust your sense. If you see something, if you sense something, you should deal with it. You should do something. If you have some questions on this case, you can ask me because it would be not very obvious, but it's from the deep experience. We can discuss it if you want. I'll go further. Second tip: top consultants not only talk the talk, but walk the walk. Be authentic and follow your own advice. It's a common tip for consultants. And by the way, as for Anastasia's offer, so if we implemented the motivational system, there could be more resistance than to implement the evaluation system first. But when you have motivational and this motivational system, who says, oh, we worked on our salary and now we have motivation system. That is very tough. It's not good for us. So we can face with resistance. And maybe a lot of some managers, they will go to other companies. So that's the reason why the first step is to make the system that will make their work clear. And the second step will be some decisions with motivation in the situation that they will be obvious to their managers too. Okay. So the second tip. Let's imagine consultant, a confident individual in a substitute, passing around your office and taking notes. Although this person might look important, in reality, he has very little direct power. Consultant can do two things: advise people and try to motivate them to implement new ideas. So if you are a consultant, how can you be as effective as possible? Because people won't listen to you at all if you come off like a hypocrite. Openness and honesty are the key characteristics the consultant needs to have. In short, you have to practice what you preach. So clients are very, very demanding. So if you tell to them, it is a good practice to put the agenda of the meeting, and you all should put the agenda in the meeting and send it before the meeting starts. And then you send the invitation to the meeting for them without agenda. And they tell you, oh man, you've taught us that we need to use agenda, and you send us invitation and don't have agenda in it. Aye. So, and they will be right, and that resistance will be the right resistance because you don't do what you teach. So that's also very very important. So you walk like you preach, like you tell them to walk. Yeah, don't forget about it. Be the role model for your client. Let's say you are a line manager in a traditional company with rigid hierarchy, and someone tells you that a flat hierarchy would be more effective, as employees are more productive when they have to argue that the pressure of the job requires that everyone do as they told. Having every decision open for discussion would just gum up the works and be counterproductive. Now, what would you think if your flat hierarchy consultant responds with, do as you are told? I'm getting a lot of money from your CEO and he wants things done my way. Obviously, you'd be horrified. And that's more you probably wouldn't want to hear another word from this bossy, unenlightened individual. The situation gets off a crucial point. Behaving badly isn't merely socially unacceptable, it's also unproductive. Since people often learn by imitation, if you want someone to follow your advice, you have to walk the walk too. Where people will not only learn from what you say, but also from what you do. What if that bossy consultant had instead responded by saying that he understood your concerns and had already integrated them in his concept? He might not only be receptive to his ideas, but also pick up some vital skills about how to better communicate with employees. So that's the second T. First, the consultant is an independent advisor, not a surrogate manager. So your company has a huge problem that you, as a manager, can't solve. The light bulb goes on. I can't call a consultant and let him figure it out. Maybe you could even go on vacation while the consultant goes. Dream scenarios, sure, but the reality is different. Consultants and manager are both needed. Consultant comes up with a good solution, but manager is the one who actually puts the solution into action. This is an important distinction. Although a consultant might act as a surrogate manager and solve a problem quickly, no one would learn anything from the process. If the problem returns, the company would need to again hire a consultant, having not learned the first time around. So, for example, in this case, a consultant could say, okay, that is the decision. So every manager should give me a report what he's done the previous week. They will see what we do. Yes, that's like manager. But the consultant offered to implement the system that will work after consultant goes. So this system of regulation of working time will work after it, and he prefers company to implement it. That one is the way for the consultant not to be a surrogate manager, to implement the decision so that it will work after he goes home. And the second is to the consultant work with managers, not with employees like a manager. So he advises how managers will better manage employees. He teaches them to better manage their employees. And he do not do this work by himself, because if he do by himself, some actions, for example, the manager needs to fire an employee. And the consultant could go and say, okay, I'll do it for you. I'll talk with him. So that will be okay. Okay, he will be a surrogate manager. And in other way, consultants say, no, I will not do this. I will help you. I will teach you So you, in other situations when you will not have me around you, behind you, so you can do it by yourself. So in this way, consultant is like a trainer, like a teacher, like a coach for the client. And do not forget to be in this position and not to lose this position and go and make the work by yourself. So, like a manager, even if you can do this. Okay. So that's a common proverb. Some cases the client is positive, that he already understands the problem, he just wants the consultant to solve it. This is problematic as most managers don't have the analytical skills to correctly diagnose the problem. Consultants, on the other hand, are trained to do this. Here's one example. Company A hired a consultant to solve the problem of trainees quitting the moment their training period ended. The company thought that high housing prices in the area were forcing potential employees to reconsider. It was considering boosting salaries, or even building an affordable apartment complex just for employees. But the skilled consultants saw the situation differently. So, what the managers thought. So, if I go to the presentation, so the managers thought the decision tree was like that. Problem. We need to go out. Company. Need just oh, we need within the moment the period ends. Yes, that's the problem. And the reason, as managers thought that for you it's more obvious. The reason, high housing prices in the area. And the decision is to boost salaries or even build an affordable apartment complex. And the managers said to the consultant, "Oh, help us with a motivational system to boost salaries, or help us to build this complex. Please make the calculations and project how to do this." That's what the managers view. And we had a consultant view. So you should not implement the decision that he will tell to you, "Oh, we should do this." Okay, you can do this, but a consultant, you can show the other way if you see the consultant view. So the problem is pain. and the reason. So the skilled consultant saw the situation differently. He realized that trainees were quitting because they disliked the stilted hierarchy company culture. So trainees were quitting. The trainees didn't feel appreciated by the management and didn't develop any kind of emotional attachment to the company. That's part of this. Once the consultant had arrived at this deeper understanding of the problem, she could advise company A on better and certainly cheaper solutions. So there will be the decisions, for example, to change the managerial style, managers, yeah, and to make more soft corporate culture. By the way, how do you think why it was not obvious for the managers that the reason was their tilted hierarchy company culture, so rather tough company culture? So why do you think that was not obvious for managers, and for the consultant that was obvious? How do you think? Okay. Okay. So that's one of the main values of the consultant, that he works from not from the situation, but from the other side. He's not involved in the situation, and it is hard for people to thought that the problem is themselves. So it's very hard for, and they often felt that, oh, that's some kind of obstacles. The problem is with them. High prices in the area. That's the problem. Me? Oh no, I'm not. My style of management. No, it's not the problem. And it is hard for people to think like that, to reflect themselves from the outside, not involved in the situation, but from the third view, from the beyond, to see themselves. And the consultant could see people from beyond, and he or she could see the situation. So for you, it's very important to see on the situation and to give feedback that how you see it, and that is your value. But you can face the resistance from the client or from the CEO. You can say, "What? My style of management? It's too tough? No, I'm not tough. That's okay." Or he or she could say, yeah, sure, I need to be tough. If they wouldn't work if I would not be tough. And you will work with this kind of system. Maybe you will give your ideas and be rather convincing, mm, rather credible or not in this project. So that is your work like a consultant. Mm, and if you will not be rather convincing, you can say, okay, let's boost salaries or build an apartment complex. Let's try this. But I think that there could be other reasons. And for example, by the way, let's see the other companies. How do they work? What is their corporate culture? Let's see. So you can use plenty of ways how to work with it. And during this tip, so your work is to help people to change their view and to change the way they work, the way they manage. Help them to change it. Not to do by yourself, to teach yourself, but to teach them. So the fourth, new job needs to be tackled in a series of stages. So we will have the stage, the contracting phase, the discovery data collection, the solution. We will have it on the consultant stairs. The fifth, resistance is a natural response to the consultant process. Be open and deal with it directly. So you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. Consultant can't change things in a company without upsetting a few people. People can be scared of change, but consulting is all about change. It's only natural. Consider the scenario: you've been at the same job for 15 years. Then some young guy comes in, looks over your shoulder for about a week, and tells you that you've been ineffective for these 15 years. So how would you feel? Resistance is a natural emotional response, and it comes in many guises. For example, it can manifest itself as constant questioning. The client starts to probe every little detail. You can be sure that they are resistant to your idea. So as a rule of thumb, you're asked the same question twice, answer in good faith. If you ask the same question the third time, however, take it as a clue that your client is resistant. That's the one of example. So examples of resistance also give to you. Very interesting topic. Be patient about resistance. Non-verbal cues can also be a sign of resistance. Pay attention to whether people are making eye contact with you. If they are not, they might be feeling a bit of resistance to your work. Yet, how can you deal with resistance if it's unsubstantiated or counterproductive? Start by discussing it openly. Use natural language and create an opening for the client to respond directly. Consider using phrases like, I'm sensing that you doubt my judgment. Do you have the feeling that my research wasn't thorough enough? Asking a question forces the client to articulate their resistance, which leads to a discussion. Once the client's feelings are out there, you have the opportunity to naturalize the resistance by explaining exactly how you arrived at your conclusion. So the main formula of working with resistance, you should show the other your party, the other man, woman, or the employee, that you are not pressing at him with your project, with your consulting project. The situation presses on him to change, not you, the situation. So you should show that situation needs for him to change his way of the work. That's the basic formula. And how to do it? One of the ways is to ask questions in natural language, to be open for the client, what you feel, and so on. And the other way is logical argument, that it is more profitable for him to change than not to change. That's your work, to show him that it's more profitable for him to change than not to change. And you have also great space for people to share their fears. So you can communicate these fears to other people, especially true in the world of consulting. Even if a consultant develops a correct solution using sound logic, if he or she can't convince people to implement the solution, the consultation is basically a failure. That's because logic doesn't overcome emotions. We all know this intimately, as we all at one time or another have acted irrationally, like getting scared while watching a horror film, for example. As a consultant, you'll sometimes have to walk your way through people's emotions. Be sure you don't ignore people's feelings or rationalize them. Instead, talk about them all the time. Talk about their feelings, their emotions, and encourage people you are working with. Encourage people. Great consultant teaches the company how to do things on its own and how do not need consultants. After that, after all, they will do it. Ultimately, they will be capable to do it. So as a consultant, you are like father or mother that helps people to walk in another way. Consultant is about object analyzing business and implementing lasting change. Best cases, the consultant teaches the client to solve future problems independently with a deep understanding of the company's work and managerial role. That's the tips for the consultants. So we've saw them. So how was the election? Please tell something, and we will finish and go for the seminars, and the case presentation. Give some feedback to me, please, and we will finish. Okay, so as I see, we'll finish. So thank you for this lecture. And good. I see you on the seminar. Have a good day.
Thank you.